Well, to answer this question, we're going to go to James 5, verse 14, which says, "Is anyone among you sick? Let him call for the elders of the church, and let them pray over him, anointing him with oil in the name of the Lord." This is actually the only time in the New Testament that we are directed to anoint the sick with oil. There's actually nowhere else in any of Paul's or John's or Peter's writings that tell us to anoint the sick with oil. Now, there's quite a bit of precedent in the Old Testament for anointing with oil, but not so much in the New Testament. And that's probably because anointing the sick with oil was a very Jewish custom, and James was a very Jewish guy. In the Old Testament, we see people anointed with oil mostly just because oil has medicinal properties. So people's wounds were actually treated by anointing them with oil. And you see this in the parable of the Good Samaritan, for example, when he anoints the man's wounds with oil after he's beaten. Now, that being said, there's nothing inherently wrong or sinful about anointing a sick person with oil and praying over them. In fact, it can be a very positive experience. I've been a part of a number of anointing ceremonies where sick people have come, they've asked to be anointed with oil, and we've done that and we've prayed with them. And I think this can be a good practice for the church to continue even today. But there are some things that we should remember as we anoint people with oil. First, there's nothing magical or divine about anointing a sick person with oil. In other words, anointing with oil doesn't guarantee healing. It doesn't guarantee recovery. So if we're going to anoint the sick with oil, we should do so in faith rather than in some phony expectation that immediate healing is going to take place. And that's the main point of anointing someone with oil. It's a symbolic act of faith. It's a symbol of our dependence upon God for the health of our bodies. It's very similar to fasting, the practice of fasting. Fasting is the practice of giving up food for a period of time and using those times when you would normally eat to spend that time with God in prayer. And that's a symbol of how we rely on God even more than we rely on food. We need God even more than we need food. And anointing with oil is very similar. It's a demonstration that reminds us how much we need God for our physical health. He is the one that sustains us. And also, it's important to remember that when James talks about anointing with oil, he's doing so in the context of prayer. Prayer is to accompany the anointing. Again, not some miraculous type of healing prayer necessarily, but a prayer of faith, of acknowledging God's sovereignty over our bodies and putting our hope and faith in Him. And also remembering that the healing we need most is for our souls, not for our bodies. So with that in mind, I think anointing the sick with oil can be a beneficial and encouraging practice that the church can and should practice even today.